Bismillah. One thing I wanted to talk about right now was people who are quote unquote successful. And I say quote unquote successful because success, I believe, is connected to God and how good of a person you are in this life, regardless of how much wealth you accumulate. But for those who are successful in the financial sphere, when it comes to this life only and just the results and the output of this life, I think there's a common pattern, which is that to get people on board, to get a mass of people to understand their background and the struggles they went through in order to obtain that wealth that they did, which many believe was all from their own efforts, or many of them believe that it wasn't from their own efforts and that also was because of God and the opportunities that came to them that were out of their control. For these successful people in finance, in money, and wealth, I'd say that one of the main things that they're usually doing is telling their audience, and they're trying to accumulate an audience by telling them the struggles that they had and trying to empathize with the audience for the current struggles that they're going through. So an example being, let's say that I'm a multimillionaire and you are my audience, which in this case you are, if you're watching this video. An example of me trying to do, or me trying to empathize with you would be, hey look, now I don't have struggles currently because I worked so hard to come to this point in my life. Now I can fulfill all my needs and all my wants, and I can buy my parents whatever I want, and I can help the community as much as I want. I know how it feels to be in your position, to have mouths to feed, to not know what you're doing, and to feel like things are closing in on you. So that, what I just did right now, that is a kind of blurb that I've been noticing a lot from people nowadays who have substantial amount of wealth and they have quote unquote made it, right? I just wanted to make a quick observation on that, which is, it's so interesting because one of the best sales strategies which they're doing sales. They're trying to have people come to whatever resource they're selling or whatever videos they're making, this and that. And some of it good or bad, that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is that those wealthy individuals who are going on YouTube or whatever platform and saying these things, it just shows a method of sales in which they're doing it because humanity and trying to empathize with people is one of the best ways to connect with someone. And people only do business with other people whom they trust and they feel a connection with. And that connection doesn't have to be extremely deep. They don't have to be like a lifelong friend or have to be a family member or anything. That connection can be instant and it can be created when someone realizes that the person across the screen is actually another human and they're actually like me in a lot of ways. This translates to so many different things. And I use the example of wealthy YouTubers or people who have started their own business and they're now telling other people about it. I use that as an example because it's something that I'm currently listening to as well. I'm currently watching as well. I'm currently on the path of business, and that's one of my paths I'm doing. Currently, I'm doing engineering for a career, but then also I'm doing business long-term and investing and everything, which are all things I think everyone should do. Realistically, with business and investing, I think everyone should do it to a degree. But using this example, you can honestly take any example, and you can use it to show that the best sales technique is usually just being human. It is usually just being yourself. There's a character in the book The Go-Giver, which I recommend many people read. It's actually one of the books I've been reading in my shorts recently, if anyone's been watching it, where I'm just reading the book. I think it's a really fascinating book. It's a short read, and I think most people can get through it really quick. And I'm not much of a reader. Trust me, I don't remember the last book I finished before The Go-Giver. So yeah, I usually don't even finish books anyways, but in The Go-Giver, there's a character, and I believe her name is Sarah Duncan or Sarah Davenport. Davenport sounds more like it. And she says, out of all of her experiences in business and everything like that, she's a keynote speaker for this one conference, and she's reflecting back on difficult times and everything. And so she's literally doing the same exact thing that I just talked about, that current millionaires are usually doing on YouTube. What she said was, there's so many different sales techniques. There's this method, that method, this method, that method. But in the end, what matters most is you bringing yourself. Because if you don't bring yourself, then that other person is going to tell. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that the other person is not stupid. The other person is not a robot. The other person is not a servant that's willing to do whatever you say. The other person is a human, and you have to recognize that that person is as much agency as you do as an individual. They can say no to your offer, they can say yes to your offer. And that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't even begin with the offer in the first place. You should begin with humanity. You should begin with, hey, how are you? Tell me about yourself. You know, I want to learn who you are as a customer or as a viewer or as a person who wants to buy my car or as a person who wants to buy my product or my service or whatever it is. So yeah, I guess this pattern is for business transactions and everything. But I think I also wanted to talk about this because it's interesting to me how translational this kind of concept is to any field really, whether you're in medicine or engineering or nursing or AI or computer engineering, business, real estate, investing. The human connection is what really sells people most of the time. Here and there, people then do get ripped off by scams, or maybe people make purchases into services or products that maybe they shouldn't have. And so here and there, people may buy a product because of some automated video ad told them to, or some AI chat box said so, you know. But I think regardless of how big AI gets and how fast technology will continue to change, if in the line of customer to sale, there always has to be an aspect of humanity somewhere along the way in order for this to be a reliable method of getting a customer from not knowing what your product or service is to actually getting them sold, to having them labeled as a loyal customer, having them known as a subscriber or as a long-time customer, knowing them by name as well, depending on what your product or service is. If you're for the millions or if you're for the hundreds, you know. A lot of the stuff I'm saying is also pretty abstract, so if you understand what I'm saying and you're missing a few things here and there, as in you don't really get what I'm saying here and there, it's also because I'm probably not explaining it that well. I don't think I'm the best teacher when it comes to these kinds of things or many other things. I think I have decent teaching skills, but that's besides the point. Point being, most people want other people to do something, and that's a fact of life. You want your family to treat you right, and they want you to treat them right. You want the ice cream man to give you your ice cream when you give him money. You want to be able to cross the intersection at the stop sign because you made it to the stop sign first and the person to your right made it there before you, and you'd like for him to wait there so that you can pass. So we want things from others every single day of our lives, and that's just how a part of us functions, because we can't be individuals and just that. We are individuals, and regardless of how much we want to create a hyper-individualistic society, we are always going to be individuals in a society. And society needs to function, so individuals will always want things or services from other individuals. And if that's the case, then a skill you can get really good at, regardless of whatever field you're in, is being human, is to show yourself, to present yourself for who you are, and to make that your strong point with confidence, such that if you see someone doesn't need your services or doesn't need your product, you can confidently tell them that, hey, I don't think this is going to work for you, and that's okay. They're not made for your product or service. And you can be so confident in your identity or in your business or field or the work you do that you can even then refer them to another area to go. You may even refer them to a competitor, because you realize after speaking with that person that their needs more align with them than you. So ask yourself if that honesty will benefit them more or you more. It's only going to benefit you more because you're going to be able to then focus more and more on that thing which you're selling, or on that thing which you're trying to have the other person do. So that's a big sales lesson, you could say, that I've learned. Let me know your thoughts, because some of the stuff I said may be inaccurate. So I'm still learning, still developing, and I hope this helped. Thank you all for listening, and take care. Peace.